Story 1, Willowbrook's Haunting Tale. As I stood before the imposing facade of the old Victorian hotel, a shiver ran down my spine. The moon hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows across the cobblestone path leading to the entrance. The building's dark windows stared back at me like soulless eyes, and I couldn't help but wonder if I had made a terrible mistake by booking a room here. The hotel had a notorious reputation in the small town. It was said to be haunted by the spirits of long-departed guests, their anguished whispers echoing through the halls at night. Many locals claimed to have heard phantom footsteps and mournful wails, but I dismissed these stories as mere folklore. I had chosen this place for its historic charm, its old-world elegance, and the promise of a unique atmospheric experience. Little did I know that the hotel's dark history would soon become my own. As I checked in at the front desk, the elderly concierge greeted me with a weary smile. "Welcome to the Willowbrook Hotel," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "We hope you enjoy your stay." My room was on the 3rd floor, and as I made my way up the creaking staircase, I couldn't help but feel as though I was being watched. The hallway was dimly lit, the flickering sconces casting long, eerie shadows. I fumbled with the antique key and finally unlocked the door to my room. The moment I stepped inside, a wave of icy air enveloped me. I shivered, even though the room was supposed to be heated. The furnishings were elegantly faded, and the wallpaper peeled in places, revealing the hotel's age. I unpacked my belongings, trying to dismiss the growing unease that settled upon me like a heavy blanket. Night fell, and I lay in bed, listening to the distant creaks and groans of the old building. Sleep was elusive, as if the very walls held their breath, waiting for something to happen. Just as I began to drift into uneasy slumber, a soft, mournful wail echoed through the room. My heart raced as I sat up, scanning the room for the source of the sound. It came again, a ghostly cry that seemed to emanate from the very walls. I reached for the lamp, but it remained stubbornly dark. Panic gnawed at the edges of my mind as the room plunged into darkness. Then from the shadows at the foot of the bed, a pale, translucent figure materialized. It was a woman, her long, disheveled hair obscuring her face. She wore a tattered wedding dress, and her eyes, when they met mine, were filled with a haunting sadness. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, as the ghostly figure floated toward me. She extended her hand, icy fingers brushing against my skin. Her lips moved soundlessly, as if trying to convey a message from beyond the grave. Terror gripped me, and I finally found my voice, screaming for help. But my cries fell on deaf ears, and the figure's mournful wails grew louder, filling the room with a chorus of anguished voices. In a blind panic, I fled from the room, down the dimly lit hallway and through the lobby. The concierge watched me with sad, knowing eyes as I stumbled out into the cold night. I never returned to the Willowbrook Hotel, and I never learned the true story of the ghostly bride who haunted its halls. Some mysteries are best left unsolved, and some experiences are better forgotten. To this day, I cannot pass an old Victorian hotel without feeling the weight of that haunted night. A chilling reminder that the past can reach out to touch the present in the most unsettling ways. Story 2, The Shadowed Suite. My wife, Emily, and I had always been drawn to the eerie and unexplained. Our honeymoon destination was not the typical tropical paradise. Instead, we chose a place that had whispered legends of ghosts and ghouls for generations: the Ravenwood Hotel. Perched on a desolate hill, this towering Victorian mansion stood as a lonely sentinel against the encroaching forest. We'd read about its dark history, filled with unsolved mysteries and a tragic past. With nothing but excitement and a pinch of fear, we arrived at the Ravenwood late one evening. The hotel was everything we had hoped for, a looming structure with turrets, intricate wrought-iron railings, and windows that stared out like black eyes. The lobby, adorned with antique furniture and dim chandeliers, oozed with a sense of history. As we checked in, the receptionist, Mrs. Anderson, couldn't hide the unease in her eyes. "Enjoy your stay," she said with a tight-lipped smile, handing us a key to room 237. She seemed to hesitate for a moment before whispering, "But be careful, especially at night." We chuckled nervously, dismissing her warning as an attempt to enhance the eerie atmosphere of the place. Little did we know, her words would prove to be a harbinger of horrors to come. Our room was a Victorian masterpiece. Heavy, dark curtains swayed slightly in the cold breeze that seeped through the cracks in the window frames. The antique furniture creaked with every movement, and the dim lamplight cast long shadows on the walls. We settled in, relishing the spooky ambience, planning our ghost hunt for the night. After dinner at the hotel's quaint dining room, where the air was thick with the tension of ghostly tales, we retired to our room. Our excitement grew as the hour grew late, and we decided to turn off all the lights and use our EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, recorder to communicate with the spirits that were rumored to inhabit the hotel. Sitting cross-legged on the creaky floor, I held the recorder as Emily asked the first question, her voice trembling with excitement. "Is there anyone here with us?" Silence. "Can you give us a sign?" she asked again, her eyes fixed on the shadowed corners of the room. Just when I was about to dismiss our efforts as futile, a faint whisper emerged from the recorder. It sounded like a woman's voice, barely audible, saying, "Help me." We exchanged wide-eyed glances, our heartbeats pounding in sync with the darkness around us. "Who are you? What do you need help with?" Emily asked, her voice shaking. This time, the voice was clearer, more desperate. "Find the locket. Break the curse." Our fascination with the supernatural took a chilling turn. Goosebumps prickled my skin as Emily switched off the recorder. We decided to investigate further, to uncover the story behind this mysterious plea. It was a curse, a ghostly presence, and a locket, elements that sounded straight out of a horror novel. The hotel's history provided a lead. The tragic tale of a bride who vanished on her wedding day in room 237 had been whispered through the ages. She had been wearing a locket, a family heirloom that was never found. Some believed she was still trapped in the hotel, searching for her lost treasure. Our hunt for the locket began the next morning. We started with the archives, searching for any mention of the missing locket. The hotel's records revealed a few sporadic references, but nothing substantial. It seemed that the Ravenwood Hotel had guarded its secrets well. Emily, however, was not one to give up easily. She delved deeper, speaking to longtime staff and guests who had witnessed paranormal occurrences. Slowly, a pattern emerged, a flickering light in the hallway, a chilling breeze in room 237, and whispers in the dark. One evening, as we retraced the bride's last known steps, we stumbled upon a hidden compartment behind the room's wallpaper. Inside, nestled in a dust-covered box, was the locket. It was an intricate piece, adorned with a faded photograph of the bride herself. We believed we had broken the curse, that we had fulfilled our paranormal quest. But as the night fell, the hotel seemed to change. The air grew colder, the shadows deeper, and the once creaky floorboards now seemed to moan in agony. That night we heard the bride's voice again, louder and angrier. "You shouldn't have taken it!" The locket, it seemed, had not freed the bride, but unleashed her wrath. Our room became a nightmare. Furniture moved on its own, the temperature plummeted, and Emily's once bright eyes turned hollow with fear. As we huddled in the corner of the room, I realized the gravity of our mistake. The locket was her anchor to this world, and we had ripped it away. We tried to return it to the hidden compartment, but the force in the room wouldn't allow it. The nightmarish ordeal continued for days. We barely slept, surviving on the little food we had brought with us. Each time we tried to escape, we were met with unrelenting terror. The spirits of the Ravenwood Hotel would not let us leave. Finally, in a desperate attempt to appease the vengeful bride, we offered the locket as a peace offering. As we placed it on the floor, the room seemed to sigh in relief. The bride's voice faded into the distance, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. But as we opened the door to leave, we found ourselves not in the dimly lit hallway of the Ravenwood, but in a lush, sunny garden. Confused and disoriented, we realized we were no longer in the haunted hotel. Mrs. Anderson, the receptionist, stood nearby, a knowing smile on her face. "You broke the curse," she said, her voice soothing. "You're free now." We had expected a horrific ending, trapped forever in the Ravenwood Hotel. But instead, we found ourselves in a beautiful, serene place. It was an ending we could have never anticipated, one that left us both grateful and humbled. The Ravenwood Hotel had offered us a glimpse into the world of the supernatural, and in doing so, it had also shown us the unpredictability of fate. We left with a newfound respect for the unknown and a story to tell that would haunt our dreams for years to come. Story 3, The Echoes of Room 333. My name is Alex, and what I'm about to tell you is something I still have trouble believing myself. It all began when my two best friends, Sarah and Mark, decided that we needed a break from our mundane lives. We wanted adventure, something out of the ordinary, and that's how we ended up in the most terrifying place imaginable, the Ravenwood Hotel. The hotel was a decrepit structure that seemed to be frozen in time, with a dark history whispered about only in hushed tones. Legends spoke of guests who had checked in but never checked out, their souls forever trapped within its eerie corridors. Our first evening at the Ravenwood was uneventful. We explored the grand lobby with its cracked chandeliers and faded paintings of long-forgotten patrons. The staff, a somber lot, barely acknowledged our presence, and the few guests we saw were equally silent, as if all life had been sucked out of them. As night fell, our excitement turned to apprehension. The idea of spending the night in such a place suddenly seemed foolhardy. Sarah suggested we abandon the hotel, but Mark was adamant about staying. "Come on, guys, this is what we came here for, a real adventure," he said. We reluctantly agreed and were assigned to room 333, a number that sent shivers down our spines. The hallway leading to our room was dimly lit, and the wallpaper was peeling in places. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching us. Inside our room, the atmosphere was stifling. The air was thick with a musty odor, and the furniture looked ancient. As we settled in, I noticed something odd. An old, ornate mirror hanging on the wall. Its surface was tarnished and cracked, and I thought I saw a fleeting reflection in it, but when I turned to look, there was nothing there. We decided to order room service, hoping that some food and a few laughs would ease our tension. The phone on the nightstand crackled to life as I picked it up. I placed our order and hung up, but the line remained open, emitting an eerie static. Suddenly, a voice whispered through the static, "Help me, room 333. My heart pounded in my chest, and I dropped the phone in shock. Sarah and Mark looked at me with wide eyes, their fear mirroring my own. We knew we had to investigate. The hallway outside our room was darker now, and the paintings on the walls seemed to shift and change when we looked away. Room 333 loomed ahead, its door slightly ajar. With trembling hands, I pushed it open. The room was empty, except for that haunting mirror. Its surface now glowed with an otherworldly light, revealing the reflection of a young woman in a blood-soaked dress. She looked at us with pleading eyes, her lips moving soundlessly. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice quivering. The woman's reflection began to change, contorting into a grotesque, spectral figure. Her eyes turned black, and her mouth stretched into a nightmarish grin. A cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles we had brought with us. In a panic, we rushed out of the room and into the hallway, slamming the door shut behind us. We could hear the woman's ghostly laughter echoing from within. We needed to get out of there, but the hotel had other plans. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, leading us in circles. The walls closed in on us, and the portraits on the walls leered with malevolence. Hours passed, and our hope dwindled. We were lost in this nightmarish maze, and escape seemed impossible. Sarah and Mark were growing weaker, their faces drained of color. I knew we couldn't stay here any longer. Desperation drove me back to room 333. I pushed open the door and faced the mirror once again. The woman's reflection was gone, replaced by a strange symbol etched into the glass. With trembling fingers, I traced the symbol, and a blinding light engulfed me. When I regained my senses, I was back in the lobby of the Ravenwood Hotel. The sun was shining through the windows, and the once decrepit hotel now appeared pristine and welcoming. Sarah and Mark stood beside me, looking bewildered but unharmed. As we made our way to the exit, the hotel staff greeted us with smiles and warm wishes. It was as if the horrors of the previous night had never occurred. We stepped outside, our hearts heavy with the weight of our shared experience. To this day, we can't explain what happened in that hotel. It's as if the Ravenwood played tricks on our minds, trapping us in a nightmarish world of its own creation. One thing is for sure, though. We'll never forget the echoes of room 333 and the terror we faced in that haunted hotel.